Welcome to Get Your Mind Right, the podcast where merchant services, digital marketing, and personal growth collide. Tune in for real talk, fresh insights, and the motivation to level up.
Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, John.
It's great to have you back here.
It's great to be here.
You know last time you were here? Because I do.
It's been a while.
October 2024.
Whew.
Yeah.
A little bit longer than a while.
Yeah, a little bit longer than a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to have you back here on Get Your Mind Right for your second podcast. And do you know why you're here today?
I do. I'm here to speak about passing the buck.
That's right. That's right. So I heard you speak on this topic probably 6 or 8 weeks ago, and it's called The Buck Stops Here, which you had me at the title of this. So tell me what this is all about.
It's all about taking accountability for a situation, finding routes to handle it, communicating throughout, and resolving it. When you're not able to resolve it, though, having that moment with yourself to go through the situation, see what went right, what went wrong, taking that extra accountability and fixing it for future you.
Well, take me behind the scenes here a little bit, because I know you operate in all of the arms of the organization, you know, in accounting and operations and in sales. So what motivated you to make this a subject of your huddle?
Yeah, I think in my role specifically, I see a lot of the time where we have tasks assigned out to certain people. And you can really tell the people that are going to be a self-starter, that they're going to take the lead on it, they're going to hold themselves accountable and communicate with you throughout that process. My main reason and want to do the podcast was to kind of reiterate that we don't hire or put anybody in a position where we don't think they can excel.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't know the answer and you are assigned a task, take that as your baby. It's your project. Make it yours. Get it done. Follow up throughout it. Just really making sure that they aren't getting a task thinking they're not capable, passing it on to someone else, and not seeing it all the way through. I want to reiterate that they can do it. You're in that role because you were hired to do it.
So this sounds really obvious to me. Why do you feel like you need to talk to people about this? Other than your experience of every second of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like a personal thing. I think people go through ups and downs, and that they need a little reminder of a little confidence behind them as well, but also just a reminder not to pass that buck.
Yeah.
You are here for a reason. You can do it. You are accountable.
So here's something I run into a lot, and you know, generally when you hear someone like pass the buck means that I don't want to deal with this, right? And you would think that would be really easy to identify, but I think that really casts a wide net. And I'll give you an example of this. Like I will see someone will have a problem. Like they'll have a merchant or client contact them and they'll have a problem. Mm-hmm. And what I'll do is I'll say, okay, well that's Megan, and I'll toss that over the fence for you, and that or I won't say me, but the person who does this, they think, okay, well I've done my part here. Mm-hmm. And they haven't. Right? Because the thing is they still owe communication to their client that called into them, and who knows, maybe you were out that day, or maybe this was time sensitive, right? And you were out that day, or someone else was supposed to take care of it, but they think that when I push that off to someone else, that now I'm done.
That is so far from the truth, right?
So what has made that, it's been that way as long as I've been in the workforce, but it has gotten demonstrably worse over the years.
Well, I mean, ultimately they came to you, right?
Right.
So if you're not the one knowing the answer, you have to self-source it or ask for help to find it. But if I call you, I'm expecting to hear from you, usually, right? Mm-hmm. If I don't know the answer, that's fine. Not everybody knows every answer. This industry is ever changing. However, take that extra step to call in, have the merchant on the line or not, and we can take it from there internally, mm-hmm. right? But at least you're still learning, so that the next time that question appears, you know how to answer it, and you don't have to wait. That's also with like a one-call close. I hated going into a merchant location, not knowing an answer, having to step out, call in, inquire, go back into the room.
Yeah.
But I did it. I
Yeah.
would do it. There was no way that I was going to leave that meeting with questions unanswered. So I'm going to step out, get the answer I need, come back in. But I'm also still that one communicating it right. It gives me validity in the situation because I am going to find the answer for them.
So I was really, really lucky on this point, Megan, because when I was young, I had a boss, and he was big on this because people would say, he'd say, hey, where are we on this particular issue? And he'd say, well, you know, you might say to him, well, you know, I passed that over to Megan, ask her, and he'd go, no, I'm asking you. This originated with you. This is your client. I don't know. No, you should. You're not done. And that really resonated with me as far as like follow up, and it really changed my thinking. You know this from working with me now.
Mm-hmm.
That when an issue originates with me, even if I'm not the one resolving it, which most of the time I'm not, I still feel it is very incumbent upon me to follow that through to the end and to make sure that the client says, yes, I'm satisfied on that.
Most definitely.
So here's my challenge, or this is my challenge and my question to you. Unfortunately, you're hiring people that have been in the workplace for years and years and years, and they've never been introduced to that concept before. So how do you win their heart and mind over?
I make it to where they're excited about it. I like to give projects instead of tasks. So it's your baby.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it's been done in the past. I want to see what you can do with it. I want to know throughout. Give me follow-ups. We have meetings that we schedule to go through the process. I think Kylie is one that I go back to a lot when I think of, I'm not necessarily passing the buck. I can't do it all, right? But we do have mass projects where I've roped her in. It's her baby. She's in charge of it. She manages all of the communications between the representatives. She tracks follow-up. She tracks conversion for me. And we have meetings on it weekly to follow up on it. I let her run that. It's your project. I gave it to you. I still need to know how it's going, though. I still need the updates. I still need to know it's going well. If I need to hop in, I will. However, her open communication and her way of, hey, this is done. This portion is done now. And keeping me updated throughout the process, that's not necessary. There are at times, where I try to rope people in that maybe aren't ready yet. I think that they are, and those projects look a lot different, right? So it's more of, hey, where are you at with this? Instead of communicating it directly. And I think a lot of it comes from confidence and knowledge. And that's also where passing the buck comes, because if I'm not confident and I'm not knowledgeable, it's a lot easier to pass the buck. That's not my job. That's not my role,
I don't know. This is, for me, is a chicken and egg question. Bobby Knight famously said that he thinks confidence is overrated. He said if a kid can shoot the ball, he's got confidence. If he can't, he doesn't have confidence, that's one of those duh statements, right? But so it's like, he's implying in that statement, or I take the implication is that this is a God-given thing, right? Either you have it or you don't. But that's really not the case, though, right? So that's back to my point. You've got a lot of frontline people that are dealing with merchants directly every day. How do you get them to that confidence level?
Some people are born with it, number one, like you, John. Just come out confident,
Oh, yeah.
But other people you have to work with. So I'll go back to Kylie, and I'll go back to sales support really in general, Dawson, and some prior people that we had in the role.
Yeah.
They've all come to me at certain times with a lack of confidence. And the way to build confidence is to do it repeatedly, to study it and do it.
Like spend time in the gym and take 1,000 shots a night on your jump shot.
And a lot of the time when I became more confident was because I failed first, right? And I felt that pain of failing or the struggle throughout it. And then I found the way to fix it, and then I became confident because it'll never happen again. I struggled through it, found the fix, now I know it. I'll never struggle like that again.
Well, so I know some of the backstory on you, and you didn't have a lot of support when you were in those days, right? So this was just on you to figure this out?
Always have a mentor. I think that there's a way
Well, I'm sorry to overtalk you, but you know back when you were a rep, right? That's the time I'm referring to. So you had a mentor then?
I did.
Okay.
I had a few mentors in company and then outside of company as well. And I think that also just self-education helps to build that confidence too. As a rep, when I was out in the street first selling, how I gained confidence was finding an industry I liked and then finding a product that suited them best.
Yeah.
So I really was all about our B2B gateway and optimizing what they were going to be saving. That was huge for me. So that's what I pitched. And I had a lot of large B2B clients that I worked with that felt confident in having me work with them because I studied that product and I knew it inside and out. But I didn't pass the buck during that, right? I did initially with the training. I didn't study up on the product myself, go to their website, pull it all down. No. I waited for sales support. I learned what they had to provide. And then from there, I studied until I certified myself to sell that solution. I became the all-knowing of that one product.
Okay. So, so back when you said you had mentors inside and outside the company, you were pretty young when you started that. I mean, at that time, did you identify them as mentors, or you just saw them as people that could help you out and help you work through, get you across the finish line?
More so helping out, getting me across the finish line.
Okay.
On things. There were a few people I followed throughout college that were more of a mentor throughout the process and building the confidence behind me. But learning education-wise was more industry related.
I kind of went through the same thing when I was young, and I really wish that I would have picked up a book on what mentoring meant and what that looked like, because I had them, but I never used that word mentor, nor did it occur to me that these people I was tapping, they were actually mentors. But it's really an important thing, not just for you to be a mentor now that you're experienced and you're tenured in this position, but when you're in a not even necessarily young, you're just inexperienced, you could be any age, what that looks like to go out and get a mentorship, mentorship, and what kind of expectations that you're going to have from them, and then of course your mentor, what they're going to get out of it.
I always go back to my business course in college. We had one course that was heavy on business relations, networking, interviewing. Ask. Find the person that you want to reflect. I want to be just like that person. I want it to hit that goal that person just surpasses every month. Why can't I duplicate what they're doing? If I don't want to do exactly what they're doing, I could take bits from it, right?
Right.
So at that point, I always reached out with a formal letter. I don't do email. I would like a formal letter for that request. And I've sent 4 in my lifetime. I've received 3 yeses back. And that's fine.
Yeah.
When you have somebody that is willing to take a little extra time out of their day to assist and guide you, I mean, who doesn't love that opportunity, right? I mean, I come down here and bother you every once in a while just for a little mentor on the side. But I think throughout life we have a lot of mini mentors, little mentors that help us on a day-to-day basis. And then we have those big mentors that really hold that value that you can speak to on a business level, but also an emotional level, where they help build you up and build that confidence for you, but also the education level as well.
I get things too, and this is a little off the topic of mentorship, but I've picked things up over the years from folks, even folks that's worked for me that I've used. I'll give you a great example of this. So I've had many people over the years, really great people, work for me, and a job is kind of like a life, right? There's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end. Very rarely are you going to work with someone in any situation until the end of both of your lives, right? Things happen, And when people have left the job on good terms, I've made this solemn promise to them. I say, hey, listen, here's the deal. We've had a great relationship business-wise, and it doesn't end here. You know, if you ever need me for you to help get another job or to get some other business relationship going, you call on me.
Mm-hmm.
And my pledge to you is that I will put this at the very top of my list and respond to this. And whether that's writing a letter or making a phone call, I'll do it. And I use the word solemn. You know, this is a solemn promise, right? And what's happened over the years, and it always surprises me who calls on me and who doesn't. Like people that I would think that call on me don't, and the people,
Right.
I'm almost always wrong, right? And the people I think they're never going to take me up on this, they do. So any rate, I had a situation, and it was one of those times where I was, when this request came in, I was particularly stressed. It's like literally I had like 20 pounds of monkey crap to collect, and I had a 12-pound bag.
No one likes that.
Yeah. And I'm literally I'm sitting at my desk, and I'm stressed out because I've got all these deadlines, and I don't know how I'm gonna get this done. Well, I get the request in. It is someone that worked for me, and she's in a job, and it was time important. Would you please do this? And I'm like, this is like the last thing I need, because literally now this is at the top of my list at an already impossible pile, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I send her back a quick reply. I said, yeah, I'll go to work on this immediately. And I'm just like, my stress level hits a whole new high, right? So I'm sitting there contemplating this, how in the world am I going to get this done? Because in this case, it was writing a letter, which was even worse. Because you know what, for me, writing a letter.
I know how you are with your writing,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I'm just feeling it at a visceral level, right? So 30 seconds later, I see another email come from her. John, you've been so good to me over the years. I cherish our relationship. You've been a great person in my universe. I mean, just this really, really nice terms. And she said, this is very presumptuous of me, and I know you're always busy. I took the liberty of writing this letter.
Mm-hmm.
And you can chuck it in the trash can, you can tweak it, you can do whatever you want. Please don't take this the wrong way, right? Which, again, this is what makes this person a top professional.
She must have taken that business course. Because it was also in there. That is also,
That was?
Yep, that was also something that we trained on, was if you're going to ask someone, of course, if they want to, then
Yes.
go ahead and provide that to them, because it saves them time, energy, and they're already agreeing to it, right?
Right.
It's not like you're putting words in their mouth. And if they want to change it, they can change it, but offer to do that for them, so that they just have to sign off. You're not putting them out by asking for their assistance.
That's exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And this was probably 15 years ago. But I looked at this letter, and I'm like, okay, well, this is all true. And it was even, believe it or not, semi-close to my voice and the way I write. I literally made cosmetic changes. I read it like 2 or 3 times. And 5 minutes later, it was out the door. And I just was sitting there, and there were 2 things that struck me. This is why she was great, right? And then number 2, what this did is it lifted my spirits, right? I mean, this was the greatest affirmation of the human spirit and what it can accomplish, right? And all of a sudden, this stress level and this impossible day I had was a little bit easier because I had this interruption.
Right.
So, but again, it's all on her. I didn't do anything.
She did not pass the buck.
She didn't pass the, yeah.
She owned it.
Right, she did own it. Yeah. Thanks for getting us back on subject here.
Yeah,
It's a good
no
circle
problem.
around there. So speaking of here, one of the things that you said, I made some notes here. You said that what accountability is, what it looks like, and what it requires is that people admit mistakes and create corrective action. Admit mistakes. I'm going to underline that. They change behavior, not just words, and they maintain integrity by listening and learning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you say admit mistakes, what does that look like in the real world?
Difficult, right? So nobody wants to admit that they're wrong, that they messed up. It's sometimes evident, sometimes is not. Sometimes has to be researched. Sometimes we find it down the way. But But being able to say, once it is pointed out that there's an issue, I created that issue, and I recall how I created that issue. On this step here, I should have done X, I did X. From here on out, I won't do this again. And I'm gonna put these preventative steps in place to ensure that that doesn't occur again. And if it did occur and it impacted someone, I'm gonna take responsibility for it.
So are you saying this in the context that you feel they're internalizing this, that they realize they made a mistake, or is it important that they articulate this?
It's definitely important to articulate it, because if you don't walk through it and communicate it out, how are you taking responsibility?
Okay. So, as you are aware, 99.9% of the population doesn't say, oh yeah, I messed this up and here's what I need to do.
I do it every day, 100 times a day.
Well, you're the 0.1% though.
So many things. It could be how I communicated to a server
Yeah.
at a restaurant. Maybe I was on my phone and didn't look up, and she's having a bad day and it upset her. And I have to take accountability for her emotion towards me not being respectful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's multiple instances in any given day where I will take a moment once I see a reaction or hear something or discover something to say, okay, how could I have changed that myself to where that outcome would have been different and better for everybody? And we do that in operations constantly. So anytime that there's a service level that isn't met, anytime there is a device that is deployed incorrectly, anytime that we do a boarding error, we have a ticket that we go through in our CRM that goes through the entire situation. Where did it start? What was the error? What was the impact of the error? What was the cost of the impact? Who was impacted? Who could be money too, right? If it impacted a group of people and those people no longer want to work with you because of said error, that's impactful. And people don't realize, until you take those steps, you don't really realize the impact. So yeah, I made an error. I'm a person. I'm a human. Humans make errors.
So there's two things here, because like one of the things that I say in sales all the time is that great is the enemy of good, and it also is an enemy of pretty good and effort. Okay, and what I mean by this, you've seen this too, is especially in new sales folks, as they say, well, as soon as I learn this and I get this in straight, then I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna start contacting merchants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what they end up doing is that the goalposts are constantly getting moved, and they never reach there.
Right.
So one of the things that I tell salespeople, I say, if you're not getting beat up, even these are people that are very accomplished and produce a lot. If you're not getting kicked, chances are you're not moving much, right? If you're not taking punches, you're really not in the ring.
Right.
So how does that look like in your world? I want to tie this to what your second point was changing behavior and not just words, right? Because again, the stakes are pretty high for your folks making mistakes, but at the same time, that effort and that movement has got to be there. Well, there wasn't a question there.
Yeah, I'm like.
So how do you balance that? I'm guessing, like, when someone's through training here, and you're talking about making mistakes that maybe they shouldn't be making, and there's certain behaviors, or there's certain behaviors that are causing these mistakes, and you don't want them to just give lip service. Yeah, I'll do better next time on this.
Yeah.
So what's this look like from a coaching standpoint?
Yeah. So when we get that ticket done, it goes to our risk investigator because it is risk. Any loss is risk. So they're in charge of making sure that the ticket's created, that it's followed through upon. They connect with the department where it started. They meet with the people involved in the incident. They go over their portions within the incident. Then they come up with a plan of, well, what would have been in place or what could have been in place that would have nixed this incident from occurring, period. What can we change? Can we change the setup form to make sure that it maps buyer's choice percentages correctly so that you're not guessing on the setup form what percentage you need to apply? Okay, let's do it. Let's get a hold of the developer. Let's add it. At that point, once they come up with their plan, they then connect with me. We review it together. I offer additional suggestions, and then we meet as an entirety of operations to go over the situation. So it's in the forefront. It's not singling any people out. That's not what it's here for. It's here as a training opportunity, because we are humans, we do make mistakes. However, those mistakes have costs, and let's not make them over and over again. Repeat mistakes, that's an issue, right? That's not a mistake at that point. It's negligence. So if we have this written down and we have a procedure for it, and you can locate it and you can see it at any given time in service, then there shouldn't be an issue with that situation again. And if there is, we're going to do the same thing again, and we're going to reassess it.
Yeah, this negligence is a problem. You know, there's really a lot more out there than I think good people are willing to admit to, and sometimes even address it. But you know, a lot of this, what you're talking about on this buck stopping here, owning it, it really is negligence. And just say, well, you know, I gave it to Megan, I thought it was taken care of. No, that's just negligence.
Right.
Yeah. I got a chuckle out of this. You talked about daily affirmations. Do you do this yourself?
You know, I used to quite a bit, especially with my daughter, making sure that she has the right start to her morning. I am beautiful, I am kind, I am competent.
Really?
Yeah, most definitely. You hear those things and you start to be those things, right? And you believe those things. So.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So are you able to keep that fresh with her every morning where it really sinks in and it's not just words being repeated?
Well, she's 5. So every morning is fresh, right? Yeah, I think that sometimes she just kind of goes through it. I think at other times it's the start to her day. Like it's something that she looks forward to. So it goes back and forth, right? And I think if you do it with yourself, it will be the same, and that's okay. We're emotional beings. We have different ways we feel each and every day. One day I could be totally into building up my confidence, and the next day I could be totally down on myself. So it's okay to not have full belief in every affirmation you give yourself on a daily basis. But the point is that you're still doing it.
You'll find this amusing, but I think Alex was 5, and I started talking to him about goals, right? And we had it written down. We had categories, and it was personal goals, it was school goals, spiritual goals, and athletic goals. So we had it codified. It was written out. Of course, I had it on a spreadsheet, as you might guess.
No way.
And Alex, he went in whole hog on this deal. And there was probably, I'm going to say, a 2-year period that part of his tuck-in procedure at night is we'd go over his goals. So
that's good. That's big. That had a big impact on him, right?
It did. So the problem with that was I should have choked that back at the time. I was just so thrilled that it was important to him. And what I found out over a period of time is actually, even though he wanted to do it, he was getting a little bit of anxiety from it. So it was too much. In retrospect, it should have been like a once a week or once every couple of weeks thing.
Right.
And more of like what you did, a daily affirmation, which is strong and powerful but soft. But that's a lot for a 5-year-old. But
right.
It definitely has shaped him in a positive manner.
Right. And you took accountability to do that, right? As the parent, as the figure in his life that he's looking towards.
I did, but I at the same time, you know how this is. Sometimes you don't know what you're signing up for. Right. And I never intended or dreamed this would be like an every night thing. But part of him too is this is people, and I'm this way, just not to what the degree is. He's ritual oriented, right? So I should have. In retrospect, I hadn't thought about this in a long time, Megan.
So look, but it's perfect though, right? Because up front, you didn't pass the buck on to someone else in his life,
right?
To
That's true.
Hold him to those things. Now you're looking back, you're reflecting, you're holding yourself accountable for the stress it might have caused him or the anxiety it might have caused him, and said, okay, next time I could have done this differently. And that's what all of this is about, right? You might not know the right way, but as long as you can reflect back and see what you could change to make it better, you're in the right path.
So
you're not wrong in the beginning, right? You tried, you gave effort towards it.
So we're making this about me now, but
It
always is, isn't it?
Always.
But I did put that to work. So what I did with the other kids is it was looser, and I want to say with the boys it was up through high school, but it was more of a like once every 3 weeks or a month we'd go over it. But it was a great conversation point. As a parent too. A lot of it's just being present and letting the kids know that you're aware. So
that you care.
Yeah. It's not just caring's not a feeling; it's action.
Right.
All right. So you also had a segment in your talk about this on living it every day, about practical behaviors, which I love. It's great for you and I to jawbone and talk about this and theoretical, but what's that look like in practice? So one of the things that you said is you talked about asking the right questions and doing your research, doing your homework before opening your mouth, like someone say on turkey and gravy on how they would prepare that for their meal.
Amen. Inside joke there. And totally lost track of what we were talking about.
You didn't see that coming,
sitting there
did
thinking
you?
about the turkey and then last night.
So we're talking about asking about putting this in practice and doing your research and asking the right questions.
Yeah. So a lot of the times people do pass the buck because they're not confident. We went over that.
Yeah.
They're not confident in the answers. They're not knowledgeable.
Yeah.
But do you know where to go to look to find that?
Not always. That's a hard thing, right?
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So that is always one of the main things I teach when people come into operations is knowing your resources, knowing where to source things yourself, but also knowing the right questions to ask if you don't know. Because you can go around circles about an issue if you're not clarifying or stating what you're needing correctly, right? The merchants do it every day. You see it every day. They've got a huge issue with their current provider, but they can't tell you exactly what it is. They just don't like them. So you have to ask the right questions to get down to, okay, what is it really? Is the point of sale going out to 4 decimals instead of 3 decimals and reconciliations off? And your accountant is furious because at the end of the day, you can't match your batch with what's depositing into your bank account. Is that the frustration? You have to ask the right questions to get down to the real issue, but also you have to ask the right questions to resolve it. So if you don't know the true issue, you're never going to resolve it. And then in customer service, I see it from a stance of knowing my tools, where I can locate things, remembering keywords or situations. There's a lot of parameters in what we do. I'm a big parameter person. Life is parameters. But there's also commonalities in a lot of what we do. In the underwriting, and the requirements, in the gateways we use, in qualification for level 2 and level 3. A lot of similarities across the board. And some of them are the same things for all providers. But knowing and remembering a keyword or a commonality can help you figure out the issue. I've seen it in WorldPay's world. Can it work in Global's world? And then knowing who to go to inquire, or knowing which back office resource tool to use to find that answer and how to use it.
Well, so at the end of the day, this is about accountability, right? So it's so difficult to do. Especially as a leader and building that as part of your culture. What do you find are the key hallmarks of creating that culture?
It's hard, and I'll be honest with you, I did struggle with it last year, with having some accountability for myself, taking accountability for not having enough time to train the way I wanted to train. I had to take a step back and do that, and that's just kind of a sidebar, just saying that no, I'm not perfect either. Sometimes I have to take a step back, or somebody say, hey, you need to be accountable for this,
Yeah.
to kind of reset that in me. But how I go about ensuring that my team is accountable is by letting them know that I do care overall about the impacts of an issue, but I also care about the resolution and their training towards not doing it again. You're not here to fail. Never want you to fail. It's okay, we made a mistake. We're going to be accountable for it. We're going to do corrective actions, and we're not going to do it again. And if you find yourself getting to that place again, I want you to stop, recall the situation, know where to find this resource, go back to it, and see how we fix it before creating a further issue.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There was the part of what you talked on that I like the best is you labeled it. It was called overcoming failure and perseverance, right? And I don't know if this is what you meant, but I took that. I took a lot of this is that you should embrace failure.
A little bit, right?
Is that what you meant?
Well, kind of what I said earlier is you learn the most and you learn long term when it impacts you the most.
Yeah.
So I think back to...
Like negatively.
Yeah. Like I think back to things that were out of my control, that I couldn't fix, that were created and handed to me.
Yeah.
And like conversions or acquisitions that come over and they're not set up correctly, clients aren't set up correctly, and the impacts to those merchants and those clients. But also the impact to me. And I figure out ways to do conversions or acquisitions in the future to ask all those questions up front so that I don't have those issues when I get started. Does that answer anything?
Yeah, it does. It does. And then you also talked about resilience. Okay, and again,
Have to be resilient in this line of work.
so I think that's for everything.
I
Like
think
all
I
your
got knocked
endeavors.
down 20 times yesterday. I do. I think you even ran over me on the way to the bathroom. It's a lot in operation.
If it was someone that was moving like a lot faster and you didn't have purpose in your step that ran over you, Megan, probably was me.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Or Carrie. Carrie's very fast. Yeah, in this line of work, you're gonna get knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
It's a scary industry because a lot of people don't know a lot about it. And when people are scared, they tend to have big reactions. And money creates a big reaction in general. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that are brought to me on a daily basis that I'm hands in the air. All right, let's figure it out. Let's get to it. Having the confidence to own it, not pass the buck. I've got to handle this right now. Finding that resolution point and being resilient throughout it, because people aren't happy sometimes in these processes. And you've got to, I'm going to stop my research. I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call so-and-so and let them know I've got the issue. I see it. I understand where it started. Give me some time to fix it. I'm going to call you back in an hour. Ooh, they love a time frame. Right? And then hold yourself accountable to call them back at that time. But you do have to be resilient in knowing that you're going to have a little beat down here and there, and that's okay.
That's okay.
Because you're taking accountability, right? And you're not going to pass the buck. You're going to figure it out. You're going to resolve it for them.
Excellent. Well, Megan, we ran a little long, and I had another topic I was going to run by you, but we're going to save that for next time.
Okay.
It's been great having you on the show here today. I'll give you the last word here before we sign off.
I always like to say, make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.
And on that note, for Megan No, I'm John Johnson, and I'll see you next time on Get Your Mind Right.